Good day and welcome back to another World of Warcraft video. In this video we're going to be taking a look at fishing in the War Within, everything you need to know, how you can get Mereldar Marks, how you can level it up, can you get knowledge, how can you improve it, and everything else. So just keep it going and let's take a look. So let's start with the very basics, and that's learning fishing. You don't need to learn Kazalgar fishing to fish in Kazalgar, but to level up your fishing you will need to learn fishing. And this can be obtained very easily inside Dornagal. In Dornagal there is Drakkar. Drakkar is a fishing trainer, and you can speak to them to learn Kazalgar fishing. It will cost you 95 gold, and that is it. They will also have the ability to learn standard fishing if you do not have it. They can be located in Dornagal, right here at 5026. So pretty cool. Go to them, learn it, and you're good to go. Each alt can have the ability to learn fishing, and it does not take a profession slot. Leveling your fishing is actually really easy, and it can be done in essentially two ways. So the first is to just fish. You don't have to find a specific pool, you don't have to do anything, you can fish pretty easily. All you have to do essentially is find your way to a mass of water, press the fishing button, and you'll fish. We'll talk about the various types of pools that you can fish in, because that's very important for certain types of fish, collecting fish, rewards, treasures, etc. But just leveling your fishing can occur anywhere. It does scale a little bit. The higher levels will essentially take a little bit of time to get to, but generally speaking, as always, fishing takes fishing to achieve. You can find special pools around Kazalgar that have these little kind of fish marks. These will indicate that there are certain fish, rare fish, that you can find here. We'll talk through the various types of pools and the other rewards that they give just now, but these are also great options for obtaining some of your prizes. So pretty good way. There is another way, and we'll talk about that now. So the only really big way to improve your fishing is through the Algari Weaver line. So crafting an Algari Weaver line is pretty straightforward. You essentially can spin or add in thread to your character, and for every Algari Seeker thread you get, which you can find from fishing or you can buy from the Mereldar Marks vendor, which we'll talk about a little bit later, this will essentially increase your perception. You can also buy yourself some profession gear. So there is profession gear that's available, and this will also help to improve your perception stat, which is very important. So equipping these and adding these to your character under the fishing section essentially will allow you to give yourself a bit of an easier time. And you can even see here it mentions the Algari Weaver line pretty importantly. So yeah, very important overall. So let's talk about Mereldar Marks, because this is a core component of fishing, and we'll talk about the Hallowfall Derby in detail. But Mereldar Marks are a currency that you get from a certain event. You can also obtain them from fishing very rarely. You will get an item that you can obtain while fishing that will give you Mereldar Mark. But basically, to cut a long story short, outside of Careless Dash's treasures, essentially you get them from the following event, the Hallowfall Fishing Derby, and utilizing the buff there. Let's talk about the Hallowfall Fishing Derby. This is an event that occurs once a week, every Saturday. You can do it on every single character, but you can only do it once per week on each character. You will speak to Captain Oathmit, and they will have a quest for the Hallowfall Fishing Derby. You can also exchange your Mereldar Marks here, which we'll talk about shortly. In terms of Captain Oathmit, it's very simple. Click the quest, and this will ask you to catch these trophy fish before the Derby Dasher buff expires: Crystalline Sturgeon, Specular Rainbow Fish, and the Saggreen Dogfish. By completing it, you will receive Mereldar's Derby Marks. Right-clicking the captain, and you will get your buff here, and then you are basically ready to go. And these drop from different pools, but very specifically, it's actually pretty easy. Crystalline Surgeon is going to be the easiest one. They drop from Glimmer Pools in the Isle of Dawn and the Raining Deeps. The Specular Rainbow Fish is another one that drops from Glimmer Pools in the Isle of Dawn. And then finally, the Trophy Sanguine Dogfish requires you to have blood in the water or a bloody perch swarm, basically, which is really not too great. You can also use the bloody perch, which you can use to build up stacks to get chances for the dogfish. So it's one common, one green, and one blue fish. While completing the Derby Dasher and while completing the Hallowfall Derby, you do have the ability to pick up Mereldar's Marks while fishing as well. So not only do you get the fish itself, but for each fish you get during this period, you will get a Mereldar's Mark as well. So it's really, really good in a way to obtain Mereldar's Marks during this time. You can see there again, we got another Mereldar's Derby Mark. And basically during this hour-long buff, it's important to fish as much as possible. You will get from handing in the quest, which is great, you get 3 or whatever, but really it's the fishing during the quest that is going to net you a lot of Mereldar's Derby Marks, which is pretty important, I would say. So definitely focus on fishing during this time. When you are also fishing this time during the Derby Dash, it's important to note that you need the buff up for the fish to count for the quest. If you don't have the buff up, you won't be able to have them count. And on top of that as well, logging out, dying, or having the buff expire will remove the ability. You will only get a Mereldar's Mark for each unique fish you catch during this time. You won't get for every fish. Once you are done with the quest, you can hand it in and basically you're good to go. Your buff will still persist, so you can still continue to catch more unique fish and obtain more Mereldar's Marks during this period. If you were to get all unique fish during this time, for each character you would get around about 23 Mereldar's Marks. Every single ult can do this, and the currency is warband transferable. The big thing here is going to be the fact that ultimately, barring the treasures you can collect during the week, there's not any real other alternative. So it means that you could spend a lot of your Saturday fishing. In terms of trading in the Mereldar's Marks, it's very important to note that you can trade them in with Captain Oath Mitt at any given time. Not too much really here. The big one is basically the angular threads that you can buy. So you can buy Algari Silker Thread and Algari Angler Thread, which will help you with upgrading your Algari Weaver line. The Algari Weaver line, as we mentioned earlier, is one of the few ways to increase your abilities with fishing permanently. But the big thing here is that you can fish this from treasure troves. The vast majority of other things are transmog. A lot of these can also be picked up throughout the course of farming through treasure spots. The only one is the Cerulean Treasure Armor. The other thing is a soaked journal entry. This will help you to increase your overall fishing skill. And you can also get these recipes, which will help you with converting your fish into a currency that you can use. So pretty good stuff, but nothing too major. So in terms of the fishing, trading in Mereldar's Marks and all that's pretty cool. There are some other things that are very important, especially in correlation to the Hallowfall Derby. So if we go to professions and go to fishing, you can see that there are some new fishing challenges that can be completed throughout the course of the War Within. Basically the Derby Dash, which is very important. So this does is you need to catch unique fish during the course of the Derby buff. It does not have to be all at once. It can be at any given time, so you can catch them across multiple weeks. And this will give you Ka, Legend of the Deep, which is a pretty cool water mount that you can get. So really cool mount. It's not showing up in my journal, but basically he's a very cool mount, and you can obviously grab him. Then we have essentially just the Algari Seeker thread. These basically will allow you to share your Algari Seeker thread and Angler thread across your warband, which will help your other characters in terms of their fishing. But that's really about it. There's not too much actually for the War Within, and yeah, pretty straightforward stuff aside from the money aspect. So in terms of, you know, like the actual aspect of making money from fishing, you can actually make some decent-ish money selling your rare fish due to the materials that they drop. And you know, if you are a frequent fisher, you can potentially make some decent money this way, but it's not anything too wild. You can make a couple thousand gold for fishing for a couple hours, which I mean is great. So there is definitely some value there that players can make, but it's more of a passive form of income. You have better active ways to potentially generate wealth in the War Within. But one of the potentially primary ways that you could generate wealth is from the cards. So from the Dark Moon Fair cards that obviously you can get from the actual, like, how can I say, from obtaining like those treasure trove sections. You can actually sell those cards for a decent whack of money, and for a lot of players those could potentially be really good sources of funds, depending, you know, on what you as a player want to do with them. So that could definitely be a good source of money, but aside from that, really that's like about it overall, if I'm being honest. So yeah, pretty good stuff. And now finally we'll talk just a tiny bit about which pools you can find, show you them, and basically give you an idea of what you get from them. One of the pools that you can find is Stargazer Swarms. This can be found essentially mainly around the Isle of Dawn, and this provides the Whispering Stargazer as well as Spiked Sea Raven. You can also throw these Whispering Stargazers down into Azkajet, which is great, and it will allow you to basically grab a whole bunch of like other fish in Azkajet, the Awoken Coelacanth, which is pretty cool. But mainly you will get these Whispering Stargazers, which is fine, you know, it's just one of those things. But these are the ones you can find around the Isle of Dawn. Glimmer Pool is also one of the different pool types you can find in Kazalgar. It's available in every single zone. It is the only place you can find the Bismuth Bittling and the Crystalline Surgeon, as well as the Specular Rainbow Fish. You can throw the Bismuth Bittling back into the ocean to obtain plus 10 fishing, which can stack up to 5 times for up to, gives you 10 fishing for up to 5 minutes. But then you can also get the Crystalline Sturgeon, which can give you 45 perception. You can also salvage the Specular Rainbow Fish for fish fillets, but that's pretty much all these fish are good for. These do give you Spiked Sea Ravens as well, and potentially Golden Gill Trout. But basically, giving or grabbing a Golden Gill Trout will give you a perception buff immediately. So there's quite a few fish types can be found here. Calm Surface Ripple is one of the other types of pools. It's the most common one that can be found in every zone. A variation, River Bass Pool, can be found in Isle of Dawn and Ringing Deeps. And there's tons of fish that can be caught from here, but the main one is the Nibbling Minnow, which allows you to increase your perception as well, which is great. and the Dornish pike, which can give you fresh fish fillet. There is also, of course, 2 exclusive fish that you can find here. So basically you get the Dilly Dallas Dace, the Quiet River Bass, and Spiked Sea Raven, but you can find Quiet River Bass only from the Bass variant as well. Other than that, that's pretty much it. There's nothing too special here like cosmetics and that, but overall it's still nice to find, and there are of course the various types to get. Shore treasure is a very rare one that you can find. You can also find floating deep treasure in the ringing deeps or Hallowfall. It's the same thing, but shore treasure basically can contain different items compared to your normal fishing spots. This can contain crusty Darkmoon cards, which is very important, soaked journal entries, which we mentioned earlier, and also careless dasher treasures, which we also mentioned earlier, and basically a whole bunch of cosmetics that you can buy with the Mereldar Marks. So these are very important items, that we've obviously covered a little bit here, but basically this is one of the few ways to really kind of grab them, as you can see. There we go. To really kind of grab them, and they're very, very important. Careless dasher treasures obviously give you a Mereldar Mark, which is great, but also the cosmetic ability is great. Then on top of that, like I said, if you throw in the fact that it can net you some really good items, basically, to cut a long story short, and of course the Darkmoon cards, which is very, very important. So these are rare, but they are great. The soaked journal entries are also great as well because of the fact that they increase your fishing skill. So yeah, this is one of the rarer but better ones. Bloody pools are one of the pools you can find in terms of the availability. These ones will change per area, but they're all the same appearance. You can find them in Hallowfall or Isle of Dawn. You can also find Blood in the Water, which is exclusively only in Hallowfall, and Swarm of Slum Sharks, which can be found at Hallowfall or Ashkashet. They change slightly, but basically the only one that's really, really important here is the Arathor Hammerfish, which is obviously very, very important. Of course, that's pretty much it. The final pool that you can find, pretty much, or one of them, is the Effused Echo Spill. Now this one is the same as a Festering Rot pool, which is green, and Festering Rot pool can be found in Isle of Dawn, whereas Infused Echo Spill can be found in Hallowfall and Azkajet, and basically they provide the same fish, the Golden Gill, Pale Huskfish, and that's pretty much it. Obviously, Pale Huskfish is probably one of the rarest fish in the game, and so it becomes quite difficult to get them. Essentially, the Pale Huskfish is a very rare fish because it can be opened up and can contain a whole bunch of different rewards. That is everything you need to know about fishing. Should cover you guys pretty good for everything you need to know. If there's anything I missed, leave a comment. If there's any help you want to give that I didn't give, please obviously put it in the comments as well. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time. Bye.